welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Turn Left, Indiana's own Dana Black, bringing you the candidates from across the state. A lot of times I'm meeting folk I have never met before, and they're first-time candidates or they're returning candidates. And the cool part about the format that I have now is that, people are wanting to tell you their stories because they want to see if they can get the help that they need. And that's what we're doing here at Turn Left, is bringing you the candidates so you can find out who is on the ballot from across the state that you can help out, who you can volunteer for, those fresh new voices. And so today we've got on our show Ashley Hammac, who is running for House District 16. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Dana. Appreciate you having me.
So I got to ask, Ashley, first question out the box. You and I have something in common, very, very unique in the fact that we have a unisex name. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I honestly, I didn't even think about yours as being unisex, but that's definitely been interesting. I'll say that.
For me, it's interesting as well because I am a masculine of center woman, and people are often confused on what my gender is. And so when they look at my name, they're still confused. And then when folks ask me what my pronouns are, I always tell them it's she, he, they, because I like to keep them guessing. It is way more entertaining that way. So I don't know. I just thought it was cool that you had a unisex name like me. So tell the people who you are and where you come from.
My name's Ashley Hammac. I live in Brookston, Indiana. That's in the southern edge of House District 16, which covers White County, Pulaski County, Stark County, and Jasper County.
Okay.
And that's Monticello, Rensselaer, Knox, and a couple other small rural towns and communities all throughout this area. Just north of the West Lafayette Brookston exit, if you're heading up on 65, you pass by. Actually, Brookston has two exits on the interstate, let's say, and West Lafayette just has one.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're moving and shaking up here, and it's very rural, very ag centric. I've been in Indiana since 2013. Mm-hmm. I haven't been in this district for that long, but I'm getting to know people and getting to know what the issues are. One of the issues that is...
Well, before we get there.
Okay, sure. Sure.
We'll talk about policies in a minute.
All right.
So what brought you to Indiana?
Actually, it was like whenever I was married, my ex got a job here at Purdue and I followed her. We had a deal where whoever got the first job offer after graduate school, we both, were in graduate school, and whoever got the first job offer, the other one would follow. So she got an offer at Purdue and I followed. So I've been here ever since.
And you stayed. So did you kind of fall in love with the area? Was there something about the space that you just liked, or?
I do like the idea of raising kids in Indiana. I think it's a good place to raise kids. From compared to where I grew up in a city in Montgomery, Alabama, and it's a lot different. I really love the rural atmosphere environment, and I kind of growing up in that city environment, I kind of got, I had enough of that hustle and bustle type of environment where, there's just lots of people around. So I've been gravitating towards rural communities and stuff ever since I left home. But but yeah, I enjoy living in Indiana, and I really what I really appreciate is the good public schools. And yeah, like, well, we'll get
Yeah,
there.
we'll get there. We'll get there. So, listen, Montgomery, Alabama, is got a lot of history.
Oh yeah. Sure.
When it especially comes, the civil rights and the movement and so on and so forth. Did
Yeah.
a lot of what you grew up there, and yeah, I can understand not wanting to be in an urban space, but how did that city shape you?
Well, it did. It did, in fact, shape me in a lot of ways. Like, okay, so let me first start by saying my mom grew up in a rural community and she moved to Montgomery in the mid 50s.
Mm,
She graduated from high school in 1954. She moved to Montgomery in the mid 50s. And so it was like, it was a hotbed
mm-hmm,
right when she was there of like, a lot of social change happening. She witnessed the George Wallace speech of,
mm,
segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. And then, like kind of everything that led up to that. She was there for the Selma to Montgomery March. She was there
mm,
for the bus boycott and Rosa Parks.
mm,
Um, so I've heard all those stories from my mom's perspective, all growing up. And of course, we learned about it in the history books, in school. Um, all of my schooling was under like desegregation and busing.
mm-hmm,
So I've grown up around a very diverse mix of people, which I value to a
mm-hmm,
great
mm-hmm.
deal. And but like it's kind of weird because like a lot of people from Montgomery, their city, they got that city like
Mm-hmm.
mindset, but they're
Mm-hmm.
also country.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody from Montgomery has got kin folks that's out in the country, so we all kind of you know grew up kind of hybrids of
Mm-hmm.
like between city and country. So like that was definitely my childhood, you know, growing up. I mean, we rode our bikes all over the place, like
Mm-hmm.
all over the town, be back home by the time the street lights come on kind
Yep.
of deal. So, um, classic like X gen, upbringing. And but yeah, I love being from Montgomery. It's changed a lot since I've moved away from there. Most of my family still lives around Montgomery, not in Montgomery proper, but I still have a lot of friends that live there. And, I really appreciate my roots and where I came from. So,
I
yeah.
love that. I love that because I mean, I've been to Montgomery, but most of my recollection of the city is basically the history of it, and I haven't really had a chance to really talk to someone who grew up there. So thank you for that insight. I really appreciate it. So
Mhm.
you went to grad school. What did you study in grad school, or what did you study in school? Period.
Well, I kind of like I started off in environmental soil and water science, and I just got more and more specific in soil science. And so my PhD was
Ooh.
looking at nutrient management and soil fertility in a specific system out in the Pacific Northwest. But I mainly just have done work with like fertility recommendations and building soil health, building that native fertility that has been lost, building that back from what has been lost through conventional industrial agriculture of basically mining the soil fertility,
Mm-hmm.
mining the native organic matter and the systems that I promote and help farmers get back into are kind of the systems that we did before industrial agriculture kind of came about. And it's all about building organic matter back into the soil, which is not only good for crop production, good for, farmers' land valuation. It's also climate friendly. It's good
Mm-hmm.
for the environment. So it's kind of like one of those things. It's a solution that solves a lot of problems, you know.
I love it. I love it. And so I imagine, as someone who is so specialized in soil, it has been probably been driving you nuts with the policies that are coming out of our state house that have destroyed our wetlands, that have made it easier for corporations to come in and buy up land to put whatever they want to plop on it. Talk to us about how you feel about how we're seeing these policies from your professional perspective.
Okay, so I'll just start off by saying, you know, whenever I hear my competitor, my opponent, Kendall Culp, talking about, you know, saving his bill HB 1333, which was a paved the way for AI data centers and other big industrial type projects to come into our community. He kind of painted it to where he was trying to preserve prime farmland.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so if you look at what he meant by prime farmland, it has a certain classification, which is only the best farmland in Indiana and in this area. And so, like I said, I grew up in Alabama. The soil there is very different. The soil there is good for making roads and bricks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I know what bad soil looks like. And every bit of the soil we have around here is good soil. There is no bad soil in Indiana. Now you have areas like wetlands that you don't want to, you know, build in. You don't want to farm, you know, you shouldn't really be farming those. And we shouldn't be trying to build in those areas either. And then you have areas of like dilapidated industrial, you know, blight type areas.
Mm-hmm.
And those, you know, you can argue are quote unquote bad soil. Okay. And so like I am in favor of repurposing before we break ground on any type of natural area or agricultural area for that matter as well. I am for repurposing existing dilapidated land, you know, that needs help, that is a blight, you know. But when we do that, we have to be careful about not spreading, you know, pollution through dust and, you know, all the things that is contaminating that site. I've done a lot of work in terms of like environmental remediation and environmental work like that, looking at soil contamination. So I know there's a lot of those sites that if you were to go in there and try to redevelop it, you'd kind of be like opening up a can of worms. Well, we need to do that. We need to clean up these sites. And there's, you know, we basically need to start holding these corporations that have made all the profit and left these sites in a dilapidated state. We need to start holding their feet to the fire and getting some of that profit that they've made. You know, it's not like we can't continue to slash and burn. Like the slash and burn method of development and like the extractive type of mentality that has gotten us to this point, it's just not going to work. You know, not everybody has the same technical expertise, but we can all kind of see like this is not working for me. You know what I mean? So we got to figure out ways of repurposing this older land, you know, that's polluted or whatever, in a way that's smart. And while we also preserve like all of our farmland, there's no farmland that we're not going to need. We're going to need all of it. If we want to continue to grow as a population, we have to be able to feed people. And right now, nationwide and even in Indiana, our farmland is shrinking.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's not going, that math don't math.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And you're a scientist whose field of study has been to replenish the soil. So when, like I said, when you hear him say, you know, is that one of the reasons why you got yourself in this race?
100%. I mean, like just so what started it off was I had my own personal ideas, for policies that would be beneficial to me.
Mm-hmm.
And, if they're beneficial to me, it's not like I'm this, billionaire or any, I'm poor, like, I mean, I'm not as poor as some people, but like, I'm not like
You're not
thriving,
wealthy. Yeah.
financially, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so I figured other people, if I have these issues, then other people are going to have, a lot of other people are going to have these same issues. So I started calling and trying to get a hold of my representative, and this guy's been in office. This will be his, if he's in his second term right now,
Okay.
and so he's had plenty of chance to get back in touch with me, and he hasn't. He's just ignored everything I've said. And as I started talking to more and more people, it's like they're getting the same thing. Just, he talks to his buddies, he talks to the people that can throw money around, but everybody else can kind of get the hand, and so, when I started hearing about the AI data center push and, just all stuff like that, where they're trying to limit public speech at these local hearings
Yeah.
through like, you know, through a state law, state laws, they were trying to, in this HB 1333, trying to limit the ability of someone to speak at a local hearing. And that's just like blew my mind. Like, this is calls himself a Republican.
Mm-hmm.
Republicans kind of like, I mean, really all of us, but it's a core value really to the
Yeah. Free
Republic.
speech.
Not only free speech, but local rule,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Local communities being able to govern themselves and not having some like state, somebody at the state house to tell a
Mm-hmm.
local community how they can run their local hearings,
Mm.
and just stuff like that. It just was like, if I'm having this issue, then I know a lot of other people are having this issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then, whenever we started getting pressure from outside to redistrict, and they were buying into it, all the policy, or the legislators were kind of considering redistricting,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
mid cycle, because somebody from outside was, trying to,
Pressure them. Mm-hmm.
yeah, pressure us into doing that. It's like, no, this is not going, like, we're on a slippery slope. And, like, I didn't want to be able, I didn't want to do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I wanted to do everything I could possibly do, and in order to save our republic, in order to save free speech, local rule,
Mm-hmm.
just the Constitution, and be able to look at my kids in the eyes and say, I did everything I could, right? Like, I'm not in a position to where I can comfortably do this.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I'm not doing it well. Like, if I was to
Wait, hold on.
write out
Listen,
all,
you're doing better than most because you actually stepped up and put your name on the ballots. I know I know it, like, it could be frustrating the first time being a candidate, and you think you may or may not be doing everything the right way. But let me just, I want to pour into you just a little bit, okay?
okay.
You're doing something that a lot of people wouldn't do, couldn't do, shouldn't do, and choose not to do. But you are looking at the community around you, and you said, you know what? I'm looking at my kids. I'm looking at my community. I got to do something. You're not sitting back and complaining about what's not getting done. You've decided to make a conscious decision to be a part of the solution, to be a part of the change. So I know, as a first-time candidate, and I hear like your concern, am I doing it right? You're doing it right because you stepped up. So I want you to know that there is value in everything that you are doing in running for office. Because I promise you, I would rather have a scientist who specializes in rejuvenating soil in my state house writing policies than some of these people out here that are just all in it for their self-interest. And so I want to pour into you a little bit, because I understand that you know, nothing wrong with being humble. There's nothing wrong with that. But please know you are doing something amazing that a vast majority of humans could not do. So I just want to pour into you. But go ahead. Keep talking.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that, Dana. But, like I, kind of where I was going with that was, I'm not really in the position to be able to do this. But like you said, like I can do this, like I know what I need to do. Like I can, go through all the process. I know how government works. I know, like, so I guess, like, actually, you mentioned it at the very beginning, like one of my weakest points is to be able to, like, just blast out and, like, promote myself in such a way that's going to get funds, And I know, like, the thing takes money, but one of the things that I would love to do, if elected, would be to take some steps to get money out of politics.
Yeah.
We need to be able to send people to represent us who are just regular people. No, you shouldn't be, like, in a political dynasty or, a career politician or from a billionaire family, but, like, it seems like those three things are kind of like the way to become a politician, or the way to represent, someone. I hate to say the word politician because, like, I'm definitely not a politician when it comes to, like, the traditional way that people.
Okay, in the traditional sense, okay.
But, like, so, fundraising is a thing that I'm not very good at, and I don't really want to be good at it. Like, if people want to, like, support me, fine, that's great. I'm not going to hound people. I'm just not going to. And if I lose, I lose. But I'm just not going to be that guy that is just, like, forever asking for money. Like my opponent, he's got a tractor trailer full of signs. Like, okay, fine. You got a bunch of signs. Guess what? When you stick them in the ground around here, the wind is going to blow them all away.
So let's stop for a second. One of the things that I like to tell candidates, first-time candidates, I understand the idea of saying that you're not a politician. I get that, because being called a politician has a negative connotation, because people say, well, politicians lie all the time, or whatever it is that they associate. But I like to flip it a little bit and say, a politician is someone who is going to be writing policies, right? So you're going to be manipulating policies. That's like saying, this person wants to work on my root canal in my mouth, but they're not a dentist, and they don't call themselves a dentist. So I want to help reframe it, instead of saying no. And then what you said was not in the traditional sense. And so I grasp a hold of that, because I believe you would be an excellent politician, because you understand policy. You just told me you understand how government works. And so you would be an excellent politician. And then secondly, fundraising is hard. And one way that we can get money out of politics is getting elected. And we have to live in the moment that we are. So when you think about fundraising and share with people that you need the funds to touch your voters. It's not about just storing up the money so that you can have a tractor trailer full of signs. That's not it, because signs don't vote. You need to be able to put gas in your car so that you can go knock doors in rural areas. You need to be able to give your volunteers some gas so they can go knock doors for you. You got to show up at events. All of those things take money. And you just told me you're not a wealthy dude. So the fundraising is a way for you to get what you need so that you can represent the people, right? It's an investment in the community. And I believe, as I'm listening to you tell your story, that you would be the kind of person, as a scientist, you look at things holistically. You're not going to take a piece of policy that just because my homeboy wants it, you're not going to put it out there if it's going to have a negative ripple effect across the state. And those are the kind of people we need. So I just want to, again, I want to give you a little bit as we're listening to you tell your story, and you said you talked to a lot of people. What are folks telling you they want you to work on when you win this election?
Well, I have solicited ideas from people, and I've gotten, I've gotten a good amount of feedback. But what is first and foremost, most on everybody's mind around here is the data centers.
Mm-hmm.
They want that to stop, and they're really kind of already upset about the wind farm and the solar farms that have been put in. Just because, I mean, I think that you probably have like a mixed bag on, people's uh, ideas on renewable energy,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like, and I'm sensitive to that. Like I'm an environmentalist.
Mm-hmm.
I can't help but be that way, having like the career that I've chosen. But I also see, we need like a we need sustainable energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, if renewable, the way we're doing it isn't working, then we got to figure something else out. But first and foremost, I think what people are upset about in this area is big development coming in and just ramrodding their
Mm-hmm.
way in and shutting down the public, any type of public input. And so that's one of the things I'd like to work on. I know that we have issues surrounding education. Like there's a bill that passed that is going to slash education funding.
SEA one, yeah.
Yep, and so there's going to be like attrition from teachers, the workforce there that won't be replaced. There'll be other programs within schools that will go unfunded, and if they don't find some other source of funding, they'll just go away. Those are not the things that are going to, that's kind of like a poison pill.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you start cutting funding to education, like what's that gonna look like in 20 years?
Mm-hmm.
Like whenever we have these kids come out of school, what kind of workforce, what kind of like, knowledge base are we going to have? What kind of brain trust are we going to have at that
Mm-hmm.
point? Medical, like healthcare funding, like we have an issue with like defunding of rural hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know like kind of the similar situation is there, with nurses and doctors and things like that in rural areas. So, it's kind of like there's a lot of things that people are concerned about right now. And I know that, there's a lot, and I'm not an expert on when it comes to education, when it comes to healthcare, I'm not an expert on those things. And that's why I will, and have been soliciting,
Mm-hmm.
information from the constituency, because like I'm a soil scientist. I know agriculture. I'm not like I don't know everything about agriculture, but like I'm a representative. I want to represent the community. I'm not going to be representing, people from outside of Indiana, like these big, money
Mm-hmm.
developers that just try to influence peddle with everything. That's not who I want to make that clear. That is not who I'm representing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
representing
The
your
people.
average constituent. Um, and and so, I don't. What I'm saying is like I don't try to pretend like I know everything
Right.
about everything. I can't write policy about everything. I can
Mm-hmm.
write certain
Mm-hmm.
policies. Um, and for what where I can't, then I'll get help. I'll
I
get
love that.
help from inside the district, and we'll look outside the district if there's enough support for that. But I'm here to represent my community, speak for my community, and but yeah, I think first and foremost is kind of getting these data centers in check, because we don't even know, so I guess the big issue with them is that they're doing this like under cover of darkness. They're doing it in a way that they're trying to hide from the public what exactly they're doing. They're piecemealing these projects. They'll introduce like, a little piece of what's going to happen, and then they'll try to get that passed at a hearing. And then, a couple months or so later, they'll come back and they'll want to do something else. And like the public is all kind of like scratching their heads, like, what is going on here? Like, why is Amazon Web Services, trying to consolidate these parcels, in a joint project with NIPSCO? So we kind of all know what's happening, but like the greater, population is kind of just like either is not aware of what's going on, or is just like, why is this happening? Like, one piece at a time. If it was such a good idea, they would come to the public, they would show the public what they're doing, and they'd let us.
They'd be touting it.
Spit it out. Yeah,
they'd be screaming
Like,
it. Look how great this is.
Right. Yeah, they'd be screaming it from the rooftops.
Yeah.
But that proves to you that there's only certain winners in this calculation, and most of us are not in that group.
Yeah. I think you got it. I really love hearing from folk who hadn't spent their whole entire lives thinking about running for office. Not that I have a problem with those folks either, because there's young people I've watched grow and are now elected officials I met were in high school and had politics on their brain. So I'm not discounting that, but I think, one of the things I love about our democracy is that anybody can run for office. Right. The only requirements, especially for State House, are residency requirements. Right. And voting. So there's some voting requirements. And so anybody can run. And when you just get regular folk who are just fed up, stepping up to get something done, that's when we improve what we have going on. And I want to thank you. Right. Because you could be doing something else. Right. You got kids, you're doing all these other things. You could be doing something else other than this. So I want to thank you. Is there something you want to share with us that I didn't ask you about?
Well, you just kind of set me up perfectly with what you just said. And, I'm running for several different reasons primarily, but one of the other big reasons why I'm running is I want people to look at me and say, look, yeah, this guy is not like polished. He's not perfect. He's got maybe some good ideas, whatever. But I want people to look at me and say, yeah, like, I know this place better than that guy, or I've been here longer than that guy. I know what's going on better than that guy. I can do that. I want people to look at me and be inspired as just a regular person to step up, because that's what we need. We need people to, en masse, to step up and run for office. And that's the only way we're going to get rid of these power mongers. I understand, maybe not everybody can run. They got, different
life situations.
Life happens and not everybody can do that. But
not everybody's job is going to let them run.
Right, exactly. But like, if you can't run, then find somebody that you can support. If you can't, make sure, here's another one, Dana. Like, are they making it easy for people to vote? No, they're not making it easy for people to vote. But when somebody tries to take your vote away, what does that tell you?
Right.
Tells you that your vote matters. And when somebody tries to take something like that away from me, you best be damn sure I'm going to vote.
Yeah.
I'm going to find out how I need to vote. and
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
going to vote. You are not going to take my vote away, period. And so I want people to listen to me and think, look, they're trying to take your vote away. They're trying to tell you your vote doesn't matter. Why? Why are they trying to tell you that? Because exactly the opposite is true. Your vote matters. And they're scared to death you're going to vote. They're
Mm-hmm.
scared to death. And they're doing everything they can do to take your vote away, make it harder for you to vote, call your vote into question. And
Mm-hmm.
when you look at, voter fraud and all this stuff that they're using as excuses, it's a non-issue. It's a
Mm-hmm.
non-issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
But run for office. If you can't run, find a candidate that you can support. If can't, maybe you can't do that, you can vote. You
Mm-hmm.
can get to know the issues. Like we have to have people that are aware of what is going on. We have to have people that want to take hold of our form of government, our form of self-governance, and preserve it. It wasn't perfect. It was never perfect to start off with. Like there's a real smart guy that said, the arc of the arc of
Yeah, the arc of justice, the arc of
it,
leans
it,
toward. Yeah, we're
yeah,
both screwing it up.
bends towards
Yeah,
justice,
yeah,
right?
that bends towards justice. That's it. That's it. Arc. Yes.
So, it ain't perfect, but it was a slate. It was a
Mm-hmm.
palette.
Mm-hmm.
The founders gave us a palette
Mm-hmm.
to paint the picture that we want to paint,
Yeah.
and we're still painting it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we have to do what we have to do.
Yeah, I love it. I've really enjoyed this conversation because it's super nice to meet you. It's super yeah, I've talked to candidates who are more polished, more experienced, but there's just something genuine and authentic about your story. And I'm really appreciating getting the opportunity to chat. And I saw your passion come through just there. I watched it just bubble up and come on out. And I love that about you. So tell the people where they can find you.
Okay, well, so my website is Ashley for Indiana House. So let me back up.
Okay.
It's Ashley, the number 4, Indiana House, and then the number 16.com.
Okay.
That's my website. And then I got a Facebook account that's Ashley number 4, Indiana House 16. And then I have a TikTok that's, basically the same thing on TikTok. And
I'm gonna follow you.
yeah, so and I have an Act Blue account. It's available. The link is on all my socials and on my website. I think it's Ashley Hammac 1. If you type in all like the Act Blue, then hashtag, it's like Ashley Hammac 1, I believe, something like that. So if people want to give, I surely would appreciate it. And yeah, let's do this. I mean, the time is right. The time is right for us all to step up and reclaim what is ours.
I love it. And that's how we're going to end it, y'all. Ashley Hammac running in House District 16. Y'all, listen, that was I really enjoyed this conversation because it's very rare that candidates make themselves vulnerable. Did you catch that? Ashley made himself vulnerable to say, hey, I ain't ever done this before. I ain't the best at it, but I believe in the democracy and I'm going to keep fighting for it with what I can do. If that don't move you, if that don't want to get you involved, if that doesn't make you want to go to Ashley's website and sign up to be a volunteer or click his donate link that's listed right below to help him win this election, I don't know what you focused on. I listen to y'all on a regular basis talk about how we need change. Well, change only happens if we get to work and make that change happen. And that's what Ashley is doing. He's a dad. He's got a job. He's learning on the fly on how to run a campaign. Even in this interview, right? But our job as people who believe in this movement is to help folks like Ashley. If you know and you see that Ashley doesn't, are you offering that knowledge or are you just trying to keep it to yourself? Help Ashley, donate to Ashley, and become a volunteer for Ashley. Because I believe he's the kind of folk we need in our state house, someone that can look at our environment and look at our soil and learn how to replenish it versus dumping more stuff on top of it. Like he said, the math ain't math. And when you think about we're losing farmland but growing population, how are we going to feed people? How are we going to feed them? I am moved by this conversation today. I'm really moved. So please help Ashley win. Please help in any way you can. Okay, donate, become a $5, $10 recurring monthly donor. Whatever you can do to help him out. All right. Indiana's own Dana Black, turn left. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will holler at you next time. Peace. Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions, executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by Dorian and 22 from Pixabay.